our next story actually is a real short one. Now, I don't know, I announced it at the beginning of the week, and then I cut it out for time, but this was supposed to be Missing Persons Week. And now we're like 3 episodes in, and I was like, oh yeah, I edited that out, because that first episode was like an hour long, and the second episode was like an hour long, and I just had to go in and remove whole chunks of the show, so some of it got lost. On yesterday's episode, during the Pombero, I talked about this little guy named the Yasy Yateré. He's also a little troll man who lives in South America. I'm just saying it now because I cut it out yesterday. He's a little troll man who lives in South America. What he does is he kidnaps kids and plays with them, and then he licks them on the face and gives them epilepsy and makes them mentally disabled. Or drowns them. Pick your poison. You're like, Jason, that's incredibly out of place for this episode, but I just wanted to fit that fact in somewhere, because it's actually in the show notes for yesterday's episode. Totally got cut for time. But this story here is part of Missing Persons Week, which you're now just being made aware of. Very short story, tragic, but it's a callback to a cryptid or a ghost that we have covered in previous episodes. We're going to Chisholm, Minnesota. And there we see the grieving family. You're like, great, Jason, another one of these ones. And there we meet the grieving family of the Warners. It's June 14th, 2003. LeeAnna Warner has just gone missing. They can't find her. Little 5-year-old girl. She goes missing. She went to walk to her friend's house a couple streets away, which she had made this walk multiple times before. But she gets to her friend's house, there's no one home, and then she starts walking back home, and that's the last time anyone sees her in the neighborhood. Totally gone. And I know you're thinking, 5 years old, who's walking through the town by themselves? And it's weird, but it was normal when I was growing up, and it was normal every single time she did this journey. This time she just happened to go missing. Huge search party. They can't find her at all. Now, the cops said, listen, after they keep searching and searching and searching, they go, we think it's foul play. We think if a 5-year-old set out on her own, we would have found her by now. There's only so many places you can go in the town. Got this massive party looking for her. We think she was kidnapped. So that was the path of investigation they were taking. They do find a child's footprint near a lake. They drained the lake. Nothing. And they're like, okay, well, back to square one. But we will keep looking for this kid. But what's weird about this is that you have, generally when children go missing, you have the usual suspects. All of a sudden you find out your town is full of perverts. Because the cops immediately start going through their logs and they go, this guy was arrested for this guy was arrested for this. So they talk to one guy, he had been caught with child pornography. They go and investigate him. He kills himself. But the cops go, we don't think he had anything to do with her disappearance. We think he killed himself because he was about to go to prison for child porn. So, other people in town think he was murdered, but a weirdo suspect. Another weirdo suspect, guy who kidnapped 2 girls a couple years earlier. He was writing in his journal. Who keeps journals? He was writing in his journal saying, I'm afraid I'm going to get blamed for the kidnapping of LeeAnna. But, they investigated him, and he wasn't ruled a suspect. She's never been found. But that's not what made me want to cover this story. This is the weird part. Before her disappearance, LeeAnna comes home with a case full of Barbies and clothing. Just puts it on the table, opens it up. Her mom's like, where'd you get those? Where'd you get those Barbie? Those aren't yours. Did you get those from a friend? And she's like, no. The old lady gave them to me. That's weird. And then, about a week before she goes missing, her parents see her packing a suitcase. They go, LeeAnna, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm getting ready to go live with my new family. Shuts the suitcase. Now, the police have said that they don't think that has anything to do with her disappearance. But when I read that, my mind went back to the candy lady of Texas. The woman who was supposedly leaving candy on kids' windowsills, enticing them to come out. She didn't hide outside your window, and once you reach for candy, her clawed hands grab you and pull you. Her goal was to get you out of the house to come with her willingly. She wasn't a monster underneath your bed. She was like a monster in society. Again, if she existed at all. But I think it's interesting that you have that same parallel here. You have this old lady who this girl met, and she gave her these toys Here, you can have these toys. Could have been totally innocent, but could have also been a total creep weirdo. Giving her these toys, and then being like, you should come stay with me. I'll be your grandma, and you'll have a new papa and a new mama. It would be so fun. And the girl's like, that does sound like fun. We don't know how many times this little girl, LeeAnna, interacted with this old lady, whether it was a one-off thing, where some old lady was throwing away a bunch of stuff, and she goes, hey, kid, come here. Come here. You want some Barbies? Or if it was a grooming process. But what we know is this girl got these Barbie dolls from someone the family didn't know. A week before she disappears, packing a suitcase to go visit a family the family doesn't know. And then she disappears. I just think it's creepy because it's almost like, what if the Candy Lady of Texas isn't so much like a serial killer or a ghost or an urban legend or whatever? What if it's just like an archetype? What if it's a blueprint for how old, creepy women can kidnap kids? Like, they can't overpower them. That's not in their... They don't have the ability to do that because their bones are already made of, like, dust. Their skin is as thick as paper. But, I'm talking about mummies at that point. But you know what I mean? Like, a healthy adult can overpower a kid. This is getting grim, but the older and weaker you are, the more you have to use guile to get them. There may be candy ladies all over the world who aren't trying to be like, come check out this puppy or jump out of the bushes. They could just be leaving a trail of toys or sweets or just words of encouragement to finally get that kid out of the safety of their own home. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.